Good morning and welcome to this webinar on the leadership perception gap. I'm delighted to be working with Steve Middleton, who's Senior Business Engagement Manager at Engagement Multiplier this morning, and in a few moments I will hand over to him to go through the agenda and the talk. But before then, just a bit of context. I'm Peter Quintana from HGKC. We're a management consultancy. We work with leaders of largely small businesses, helping them through their challenges. And my goodness, do they have quite a few challenges right now. We have over for quite some time now, talked to our clients about engagement, and particularly the link between engagement and productivity and well-being and leadership. And it wasn't really until we came across the Engagement Multiplier platform that we felt we had something that we could properly integrate into our proposition. And now it's a core component of a proposition we call People Growth, which is about helping leaders develop and manage and work with their people and their businesses. So this for me has become a core element of what we're talking about to our clients. And that's one of the reasons why today I was really excited to have a conversation with Steve when he suggested we run this webinar together. So enough from me. We've been working with him for a while, and the leadership perception gap is an area that they've been developing for some period of time, and I think it's a phenomenal addition to the tool set that Engagement Multiplier offer. So after that, I'd like to hand over to you, Steve, if that's okay, and you can go from here. Thanks very much and see you at a boat.
Good morning and hi, and thank you, Peter. Yes, my name's Steve Middleton. Like Peter mentioned, I'm the Senior Business Engagement Manager here at Engagement Multiplier. For those that don't know us, we work with partners all over the world, and within that there are definitely a number of HR professionals, and it's our partners that help us to identify successful business owners and leaders that truly understand the power and impact of having an engaged workforce. And today I'm delighted to share with you just some of the evidence that we've picked up, having worked with hundreds of businesses throughout this pandemic, on the leadership perception gap, and the importance of that both for you but for your clients as well. These are unique times. For you in a HR profession, you will be helping clients as furlough comes to an end. Business owners and leaders are making very tough decisions around redundancies and what the future of their workforce looks like. But now I have to tell you is absolutely the time, and our evidence demonstrates this, that we should be focusing on the teams that your clients have chosen that are going to be the future of the organization. Because whilst there is uncertainty in this world, employees are looking at leadership now more than ever before to provide really clear, concise, critical feedback to their teams, and they want answers. Excuse me, they want answers. So this, when I'm about to share with you, hopefully will not just provide you additional context and value to have for future discussions we'll be having with your clients, but also to provide you with some systems and processes, structures and frameworks that you can use with your clients, which will very much take you away from that transactional side of the furlough and redundancies, which I know is really important, but more into that transformational. What's the future of your organization so you can help them to thrive and grow? So why do HR professionals work with us? Well, here's 4 of many reasons. Firstly, our tool is proven to help attract new clients, but not just new HR clients, but clients where you can provide additional value around coaching and future growth in the business. We also help to re-engage old clients. Maybe you've lost clients recently as a result of COVID, or maybe previously. So again, re-engage with clients, having new conversations, but also ring-fencing existing clients, because one unique aspect of our platform is it repeats every 90 days. And it gives you an opportunity to have a meaningful data-driven conversation with your clients every quarter. But also, and let's not forget, it's also an attractive income that can go straight to your bottom line as a result of our Engagement Multiplier Partner Program, which I'd welcome a conversation with any of you on post this webinar. So today, what I'm looking to cover off with you is leadership and its critical importance in a post-COVID world, and the evidence we have to support that. Also, the 7 essential leadership qualities that we've seen through leaders that are really thriving in this new world, helping you to define and solve the leadership perception gap for your clients, so understand whether they're suffering that leadership perception gap, plus also what simple strategies that you can put in place to enable them to succeed immediately. But also, as we're going through this webinar, I'm keen to make sure that this is of value to you, every one of you that joins, and thank you to see so many of you today. So please use the Q&A tab. At the end of the webinar, Peter and I will open up for questions and answers where, if you have any questions at all, we'll be delighted to answer them for you. So a business, successful or not, is merely a reflection of the character of its leadership. No truer word said. If you have poor leadership, you have poor performing teams. Great leadership, high performing teams. And if we look at poor leadership, and I'm sure you've seen this, I've definitely worked with many businesses where this is absolutely true. Here's some examples of what you can expect to experience. And let's be honest, it's horrible, okay? And in this new normal, this new world, and I hate to keep using that phrase, but it is, this is a new normal for us. The world has changed forever. High performing teams are able to adapt quickly to rapid change. They're also much more resilient, which means that they can achieve more. And then what we're seeing with high performing leaders is they are focused on the rapid evolution of their employees' experience. They care about their employees. And these all represent changes that leaders must address in this new world. So what is the leadership perception gap? Well, simply, it's the difference between how owners perceive leaders, how leaders perceive themselves, and how leaders are perceived by employees. When that perception differs too greatly, that resulting gap represents a real problem in the successful execution of companies' initiatives. So what are the 7 critical qualities that leaders will need in a post-COVID world? Well, here are 7 qualities that we've identified and what we call the 7 C's. And I'm going to cover each one of these off with you just very quickly. And just to remind everyone that's joined me today, and Peter and I, you will be getting a copy of these slides. So I'm not going to go through each of these in detail, but know that you're going to have this in your armory, again, to support future conversations with your clients. So let's look a little bit deeper at each of these 7 characteristics. The first one, courage. Really important. Courageous leaders embrace the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, these are not leaders that use ignorance as a strategy or hide under a rock. In fact, if we look here, there are 2 types of leaders, and we often talk about wartime and peacetime leaders, okay? And you'll have those that have a scarcity and abundance mindset. And if we just look at this example, scarcity, I bury my head in the sand and I hope the problems will simply go away. I avoid confrontation. I don't enjoy leading people. It's my way or the highway. I'm going, I'm above getting feedback from my subordinates. Crazy, right? Well, an abundance mindset is, I don't believe ignorance is a strategy. I align difficult decisions with my values. I embrace accountability. I'm confident in a crisis. I seek and accept constructive feedback. Now, I'm sure if we look at our clients, we've got those in leadership positions that fit in both of these camps. But I also know that one of those is more successful than the other. And if we look at those who have an abundance mindset, well, what's the impact of having a really courageous leader? Well, courageous leaders bring energy, excitement to the organizations they lead, increased engagement, productivity, and performance. We also look at the impact on employees. They're confident in their leaders' decisions. They're able to, they know that they're fair and they're receiving honest feedback, and therefore they receive honest feedback from their employees. Now, we're going to go on to the rest now, but I'm not going to go into such detail. But let's look at credibility. Long gone the days of do as I say, not do as I do. Credible leaders will walk the talk. And again, you've got here that scarcity and abundance mindset. And we all agree that those with that abundance mindset are typically the most successful. And again, the impact of having credible leaders, this is the bit that I really want to focus across on each of these 7 characteristics. This is the reciprocal energy makes the leader's job much easier. In turn, they and the business become more productive, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy cycle. It's a self-managed organization. A leader's job is to enable their teams to thrive in their roles, not to dictate and tell them what to do and how to do it. Provide that structure and framework and ability to be flexible within it. And the resulting impact on employees is that my leader motivates me by leading by example and displaying the same standard that she expects from employees. Really powerful stuff. Consistency. Consistent leaders are aligned with the company's purpose and strategy. Let's look back over this experience of COVID and lockdown, and we look at what leaders were doing, day one around all these wonderful ways of keeping teams highly engaged and connection points and team quizzes and all that and really good stuff. But in reality, how much of that remains in the business? How, team quizzes, long distant memory. I'm not saying that's the answer to all problems, but that's just an example of things that, business leaders were investing in, spending time and caring about their team when we first went into lockdown, where now, sadly, much of that has become a long and distant memory. So again, consistency is key. And here's two examples around the scarcity and the abundance mindset and the impact. Consistent leaders lead teams that deliver consistent results. I'm really proud of working in an organization where we have consistent successes. Whereas, but I'm sure you have clients that have peaks and troughs. It just details a lack of consistency from leadership. Confidence. Confidence will enthrall confidence. So confident leaders believe outcomes win over inputs. And again, here's some characteristics around scarcity and abundance, but let's look at the impact of confidence. Less micromanaging, but more focusing on clarity, direction, coaching, developing of their teams. Ultimately, their teams are going to achieve more by doing it in that way. And as a result, employees feel more connected to the purpose of the business and the importance of their role in doing so. Really, really important stuff. Connection. Connected leaders don't discover when problems happen. They're aware that they're about to happen, because connected leaders have purpose and a one-team mindset. And again, here's some examples around that scarcity and abundance. And the impact of connected leaders is that, again, like I was just saying before, it's not about any surprises. You know what's coming over the hill, so you can overcome those challenges, those objections before they really become challenges in the business. Caring. This for me is the number one characteristic of any strong leader. If you have a leader that cares in your people will care about your leaders and what they need to achieve. And that is the overriding result you're looking for and your clients are looking for, is a team that are collectively striving to achieve the same goal, understand the importance of their role, and everybody wins, everybody working together. And commitment, the final one. Committed leaders focused on the future. Like I was just saying before, we've all started projects, but how much have we actually committed to those projects? Or is it just words on the page? And again, here's the impact, focused on the future and committed to the company and its employees. Employees then feel that their leaders are inspired confidence, demonstrating that she, commitment, the future success of the business. Again, look back at where we are right now. Employees are looking for answers. They're looking for inspiration. They're looking to know that there's a future here in the organization. It's the leaders in your clients' businesses that are going to thrive that into those organizations. So these are the 7 C's that we've characteristics, those 7 core characteristics that we know are creating high-performing leadership. Now, what I want to provide you, and as per the agenda that I set at the beginning of this call, I want to provide some simple tools, structures and frameworks that you can utilize with your clients straight away to help them achieve immediate results. And the first tool I'm going to provide you, and you'll all get this on an email after today's webinar, is this. It's a self-reflection scorecard. And I know Peter, who you saw, who set up this webinar, he uses this a lot with his clients. And let's remind you, we work with clients who are, we describe now our clients being a brave, caring, identifiable owners and leaders of growth-focused businesses. This is in the SME world. That's where our focus is. And this simple scorecard, you could present to every leader in your clients' businesses, and it gives them an opportunity to score themselves against each of those 7 characteristics out of 10. But also, and this is where it's interesting, because we look about future, what we want to drive change, impact. Where do they see that score being? Where would they like that score to be? And what actions can they take to move the dial? But also, once you've shared that, there are 4 questions that you can ask your clients. Particularly if you're dealing with business owners, because how would they score themselves? Well, let's find out. Give them the scorecard. how would they score their leaders? I'm going to give you a tool in a moment to see how they can score their leaders, but also how would their leaders score themselves? So again, give them the scorecard, and importantly, how would their employees score their leaders? So please use that scorecard with your clients. But furthermore, and again, we've been in a very fortunate position where we could put purpose before profit. So we've decided to open up our technology to those that we serve for free, to enable you to not just around the leadership, but other areas of the business that you can measure. But you'll see here highlighted in this red box in the center, as a result of using our platform, your clients will immediately know. This is a very simple survey, it takes 5 or 6 minutes to complete, that's all, for every employee. But immediately, what the business will get back is a perception of how owners perceive leadership. So you can see in this example, an 87.5. How leaders perceive themselves, thank you very much, a 76.6. Yet employees clearly in this example have a very different view. Also, what the platform will do is break that down further into levels and groups. So finance, HR, sales, whatever departments that your teams might have. Now, for those of you that have been staying connected to Engagement Multiplier throughout, particularly over this last 6 months, at our very first webinar in response to COVID, and we started to create tools to help clients navigate these times. Our founder, Stefan Wissenbach, stated, we can't predict the future, and that remains the same. These are uncertain times, but if we can accurately learn from the past, we can confidently act in the present and thrive in the future. With accurate data, you can close the perception gap. Our tools, our capabilities are designed to help you as HR professionals and your clients capture that data that's going to help you make those critical smart decisions and thrive into the future. So the leadership perception gap, just to remind you, it's about understanding how the business owners of the clients you work with perceive the leaders, how the leaders perceive themselves, and how employees perceive the leaders. And it's identifying where the gaps are. So where that gap is too great, that's where you see it impacting the successful execution of the company's initiatives. So, Engagement Multiplier. I've just shared with you just some of the evidence from the leadership perception gap, which is, we're looking at that circle on the right-hand side, it's the lower left quarter of that circle. There are a number of other tools that we've created, and you'll see those here. So working from home and winning, engaging remote teams. That's designed to help business owners understand, what changes they need to make to enable their teams to thrive whilst working remotely or from home. The emerging stronger, capture the innovation from within. We've seen a huge amount of innovation come through from teams as we're now collectively striving to protect and grow a business through difficult times. So let's capture that innovation, but also the COVID trap, the calm before the storm. And again, that's another webinar around where we see a temporarily lift in engagement at the beginning of COVID, but now we're seeing a rapid decline. That lift was the COVID trap. We thought that we had highly engaged teams. Actually, there's some methodology behind that, which again, I can share with each of you separately, but there are surveys and structures and frameworks built in our platform to support your clients through each of those areas and much more, and it's all completely free. So we love working with HR professionals, particularly those that have a transformational mindset rather than just transactional. And for all those reasons, it helps you, and you can see again that dial on the right hand side, to attract new clients, do more coaching work, assignments, re-engage dormant clients, ring fence existing clients, but also attracts additional income. To help, as a result of Peter bringing you to us, we've also agreed to remove our registration fee for partners. So for those of you watching this webinar now, whether you're joining us live or watching it on repeat, there'll be a link coming out to you where you can register for free. And we'll be delighted to, of course, share that with you and welcome you to the Engagement Multiplier family. Now I can see we've had a number of questions come through. So that brings us to the end of today's presentation. I really hope that some of this has been of real value to you. As you can see, I'm Steve, and there's my email, just so any of you have any questions, or if you'd like to schedule a call with me to go through any of this in more detail or anything about our partner program, I'd welcome that conversation. But I'd like to welcome Peter back onto the webinar, because Peter, I think you've been capturing some of those questions that have been coming through, and hopefully we can tackle through those together.
I have, Steve. Thank you very much for that. So there is a question that's come through, and this resonates a little bit with me, because I have to say this is this has been a response I've had from a number of companies that we've spoken to, and it's says my client has got people back from furlough next week, and their leaders are under pressure at the moment. Is now the best time to do this? It sounds good, but there's a lot going on. You must have come across a number of companies that are giving that sort of response. What do you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, look, these are, like I said at the very beginning of this webinar, these are very unique times. I think with furlough, there are a number of challenges. One, they haven't just been out of the business for 3 or 4 weeks, been out of the business for 5, 6 months. And there's going to be challenges around fatigue, because getting them back into the business and expecting them to be firing 110% straight away when they've been sat in their gardens enjoying the summer with a beer in their hands is probably unlikely. So you've got to re-engage them with the business. Plus also there might be an element of them and us. And we've definitely seen this where you've got employees that have had to work the whole way through this environment, working with, and keeping the business going whilst, again, others have had time with their friends and family. And now you're coming back in expecting just to get on with work and business as usual. Well, that might not be the case. So again, there is definitely the need to understand from your employees, and that's what this is going to give you, the ability to understand how your team really feel, or how your clients' teams really feel, both around those that have been working all the way through, but also those that are re-entering the workplace. And it's as a result of that data that you and your clients can make those business decisions. And every report, I have to tell you, is very different, but it all starts with get that data. So is now the right time? Absolutely. In fact, the sooner the better would be my advice.
I agree, and that's what I've been saying as well. There's another question, which again I think is quite an interesting one. Any advice on how to introduce this survey to leadership teams? I could see some people feeling threatened or defensive. So to me, this plays to 2 of those C's, really, doesn't it? One is courage. Ignorance is not a strategy. And I've heard you say before, whatever the result is, it's better to know it than not to know it. And the other is caring. And I think I agree with you that that's probably the most important of those C's.
Yeah, I mean, you will get, it depends on what you've done with your leadership before now, or your clients. There are, with leadership, naturally some of them will feel targeted by a survey like this, because this is about the truth. So there's going to be the good, the bad, and the really ugly in this, okay? And your teams need to be brave enough to understand that that's going to come through. But remember, seek to understand the truth, then puts you in a very powerful position to do something with it. So to help you and your clients, we have got a success guide of how to launch this to leadership. And there are some key points of why they should be energized. Ultimately, why are you doing it and what's in it for them? So for any client that's looking to progress with this, we will of course share that with you. And it's just full of hints and tips of conversations and words you can use to help leaders understand that this is there designed to help them to become better performing leaders. And if they become better performing leaders, ultimately it's going to be an easier job for them to do, and they're going to achieve more, which, for leaders that have the right mindset, that's a good thing. For those that don't, well, there's probably a different conversation to be had. And again, they're easier when you've got the data to back up those. So remove that from being an emotional conversation, which is things aren't going well, to being a data-driven, as you can see, things aren't going well. And the impact of that is typically far greater.
Yeah. Another question, and actually I think we covered this a little bit before the webinar started. Some of my clients are thinking of keeping most of their team working from home for the foreseeable future at least. Can you still bridge the gap when they're not in the same place? Would you run leadership perception in parallel with working from home and winning, or something like that, to try and help to bridge that gap in those circumstances?
Yeah, so within our platform, there's something we call the benchmark survey. This is the backbone of everything we do, and this is what we've decided as a business to make available to your clients, those that we serve, for free. So my recommendation would be launch with that. And then we can tie in, depending on what the challenges are in the business, we can tie in the leadership perception or the working from home and winning, or maybe from additional questions. And remember, you can actually write and add in whatever questions you like. So it's just understanding what critical data you need back from your teams to enable you to make those decisions. So if we can understand where those challenge points are, and if it is working from home, because one of the things that we're focused on with clients right now, and in fact, we did a webinar on this only, I think it was last week or the week before, around keeping remote workers productive and engaged, because this is going to stick around for some time, and it's people are starting to realize that, and there are definitely some best practices that we've picked out from our clients that we're sharing with you. So Peter, in answer to that question, there are so many options to you, but what we can do using our experience of working with clients is we can steer you in the right direction by providing some templates, and then you can ultimately decide which questions you want to ask the employees. But again, now's the time. You can only act on what you know. Guesswork is dangerous because you could be going down the wrong route.
Yeah. A couple more slightly more detailed questions. You mentioned the COVID trap on one of the slides going through. Can you just kind of expand on that a little bit? Yeah,
so the COVID trap. So we talk a lot about purpose in our organization, and the importance of, a purpose in a business is what you do, why you do it, and when written correctly, should very clearly articulate the importance of everybody's role in driving that purpose. So it doesn't matter whether you've got 5 people, 50 people, or 5,000 people in an organization, they're all collectively striving to achieve that common goal. Ultimately, you have an organization that is more productive and it achieves more. It's the center of any highly engaged workforce. It's something we're really passionate about. Now, it was interesting when COVID broke out, and this is what we're calling the COVID trap, because we saw businesses for the first time really invest, or leaders particularly really invest in their teams. And it goes back to some of what I just mentioned around those characteristics. Look at all the stuff that happened at the beginning of COVID, making sure that that employees had what they needed to be highly effective and perform whilst working from home. They got support. It's about well-being. And we saw a temporary lift in engagement for that exact reason. And as a result of that, by the way, productivity went through the roof. Innovation was rife. It was a brilliant time. And actually, we looked at we were looking at the results that businesses were achieving in the first quarter of this lockdown, and it was quite remarkable to watch. However, what we're calling the COVID trap is that this was a temporary lift. COVID became a ready-made purpose for businesses. Employees were working hard to retain clients. They're working harder to find new ways to transform the way that we as a business operate internally and externally. And it was definitely the case for us as well. As a result of COVID, we've transformed, and the fact that we're having this webinar today wouldn't have happened had COVID not happened. So, so the COVID trap is about that temporary lift that we've seen in engagement. The reason why we call it the trap is that whilst businesses felt, and there was lots of evidence, and I shared this in the webinar I did, that again, engagement levels were higher than ever before, and business improvement was thriving. Yes, absolutely true for that moment. But COVID, the trap was that we needed to replace that with that purpose. So again, it's really important to be focusing on the why you exist as a business and getting that message into employees, because now more than ever, like leadership, these are the times where they need that direction, that future, and that message.
Yeah, it's almost COVID became the common enemy that everybody was lined up against, didn't it? And now it's in a sense is even more uncertain because there's other things that are beginning to loom out there. So an interesting question here. Again, I've heard this from a number of the HR people that work with us. They're pretty busy right now with furlough and redundancy and managing people, or helping their clients manage people back into the workplace. Does the survey create work or save work? How would it help an HR professional to measure their effectiveness when advising their clients? Well,
this is a HR audience. We all know how painful surveys can be, both in creating the questions, the implementation, sending out to teams, getting them to participate, and then all that. And then you get a 600-page report full of lines and dots and graphs, and that you have to then filter through and everything else. So an engagement multiplier, just think of us as your structure and framework. We've simplified every element of that. Ultimately, in terms of getting a client live, all we need is a launch date and some basic employee information, and the system does everything else for you. It encourages people to participate. It manages participate. It's a brilliant tool. So it takes all that heavy lifting away from you and from your client. But also, importantly, when the data is presented, it's presented in a format that's very quick. We're looking at this through an entrepreneurial eye. So entrepreneurs instinctively want the information they need to be captured very quickly. They haven't got time for detail. And that's where our platform is designed to help you to really highlight and pinpoint where your time is most valuable. Oh, thank you very much. Cup of tea just arrived. But yeah, where your time, and this is important for you as HR professionals as well as your clients, where your time is most valuable. But also, and this is where the insights come from, what you can be doing to drive those actions. So in answer to your question, it's beautifully simple. It takes minutes to set up, and the data, again, rather than spending 3 months analysing a 600-page report, half an hour is normally the time on your initial review of the report.
Okay, I got another little bit more detailed question here. This is about the client data. I know we've had conversations about this. As external advisors, are we able to see that data as well?
Yeah, so a couple of things like that. So we have to be. I mean, we're holding a lot of data, so we're completely GDPR compliant. In fact, we're currently working with a client that's got 26 properties across the world. So it's a really interesting conversation around the data protection agreements because they're all different countries. Now we're out the EU. But yeah, we're compliant. With that said, with your client's permission, you have access to their data. So all we ask from you or from your client is an email to say, so in Peter's example, and I know Peter, we work with a number of your clients together, Peter gets an email from a client just to say that they're happy for Peter to see the results. And then he has what we call non-participating manager access to their dashboard. So he can see all the results, he can help them through the results, but he can't respond to them. That's down to the client to do, but he can help and advise them through that. It's the perfect tool for anybody looking to work in a consultancy capacity with a client.
I mean, I completely agree, and we've certainly found it to be extremely effective in that way. I mean, we're working with, we've just taken on a new client who are transitioning from a broadly freelance workforce to an employed workforce. So we've had a conversation about that already, and they'll be getting, I think they'll be launching shortly. But the impact for them over this period, over the next couple of years, as they move their workforce from freelance to employed, is just going to be quite extraordinary, really, because getting that level of insight into how these guys are feeling. And a freelance workforce have their independence. They feel that they're not necessarily tied into the organisation, and that's one of the key issues that they're facing. They have a phenomenal opportunity out there, and they need a workforce that's got skin in the game. So I think we've already positioned Engagement Multiplier as absolutely core to the work that we're going to be doing with them. And there's another team, I think they're going through their first benchmark right now, and they're electrical contractors, and they've got a tremendous opportunity in their sector as well, particularly now as other companies have suffered during COVID. And that's one of the I suppose one of the silver linings for some organisations is that some haven't done it very well, and they're now suffering as a result of it. So they've got an opportunity potentially to go down the acquisition route, but they need a really strong workforce behind them to be able to do that. So again, for them, Engagement Multiplier is becoming absolutely core to that change program. Really, it's what it's all about.
And just to expand on that, I mean, think of us, so we're not here to provide your clients with any coaching or consulting, and Peter will second that. We're about data. We will help you and help your clients to make sure they're set up for success. We'll help them understand where their data lies and some best practices and how to get set up and make it very, very easy for them. But we're not here to coach them, and that's very much where you come in. But with that said, and again, particularly given these current unique times, because for the first time, globally, all our clients are going through the same experience. And like Peter just mentioned, some of our clients are navigating this much better than others. Some are really thriving and some are really suffering. So we're trying to capture those wins. And what you'll get from us as partners are success guides. So for every one of our modules that we create, you get a partner success kit. Not only how to introduce it, and in fact, what I'll do for each of you joining, I'll share with you the success guide we created for the leadership perception gap. how to introduce to your clients, some ways in which you can take to social media, but also it's full of quick wins. So when you get the outputs, it's going to help you to provide some direction, proven techniques, as we've seen from our clients. It's going to help you achieve results very, very quickly. So hopefully together, and we love the idea of this community of partners coming together to really thrive, and it's our clients that win as a result of doing that.
Excellent. Well, I think that's all the questions we have. So I guess we call it there. Everybody gets a few extra minutes this morning. It's been brilliant, Steve. Really enjoyed it. Fantastic presentation from you. Really informative. And just a message to all of you out there who've come on to this to thank you. If you've got any questions, then feel free to contact Steve on the email in front of you, or us. We're more than happy to work with you as well, and to coordinate between you and Engagement Multiplier if partnership is a route that you want to take, and based on that experience, it's one that I'd thoroughly recommend. So thank you very much, and that's that for this morning. Thank you very much, Steve, and we'll speak again soon.
Thank you, Peter. Bye now.
Cheerio.